Hello, my name is Resch. I am becoming troubled about the direction of our moral compass from this constant brainwashing of the media. And one of these things is evolution. Now, it seems like every day we're seeing something in the media about evolution. It's almost like salesmen trying to sell us something. And like salesmen, what they do is they want to tell us all the parts they want us to hear, and then they kind of smooth over the rough parts. So let's take a look at really what the difference is between creation and evolution, and kind of look at it in a very comprehensive way so everybody can understand. The biggest difference between creation and evolution is, of course, the existence of God. Now, in creation, God creates the universe and all living things, and then he kind of plays the part of an engineer, like someone trying to build a motor or something, and balances things out so they work. Animals take in oxygen, plants put out oxygen, some bacteria to break down the waste, bees to pollinate plants, a few predators and diseases to keep the populations in check. He creates light, rain, gravity, and 1,000 other things that make life possible. And this is called the laws of nature or the balance of nature. In evolution, there is no reason for anything. It just happens. The evolutionists believe that the universe was not created. It's just here for no reason at all. And they also take for granted the way of laws of nature work. They can't believe they're created because they don't believe in God. It all just happened by chance for no reason at all. Now, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I think that's assuming quite a bit right there. Now, evolutionists believe that at one time, everything in the universe, every galaxy, everything, was at one time in one big mass. And from the pressure of gravity, this thing just exploded through fusion. And now I don't buy this, because if it had been a few less galaxies, it wouldn't have exploded at all. And if it had been a few more, it would have exploded a lot sooner. It had to be just right. I don't buy this. But if you do, if you believe in this, that's fine. This is called the Big Bang. Okay, let's talk about one of the things that evolution is really based on, and that is selective breeding. Okay, let's go over how it really works. Now let's say hypothetically, that means let's pretend. Okay, let's say we want to get a sunflower that grows a little taller. So what you do is you plant a couple acres of sunflowers. So when they come up, you go and measure the height of each stalk. And then you use the seeds from the tallest one for next year, because those have a little different genetic makeup than their buddies. So each year, your sunflowers will grow a little taller. And this is called selective breeding. You're selecting the seeds from the tallest one. And this is old tech. This was known when they built the pyramids. This was known when the Native Americans developed tomatoes and stuff. This was not a big secret. Okay, now nature does this selective breeding thing. But it only does it for one thing and one thing only, and that is survival. One plant will put out 1,000 seeds, and only a few survive. The strongest ones, the healthy ones. Okay, the rabbit that runs a little faster than his siblings has a better chance of outrunning his predators and passing his genes on to the next generation. This is called survival of the fittest. Now, the best example of this with humans would be like when the Black Plague or the smallpox swept through Europe. Going through Europe, it killed like 80% of the population. And then only the strong survived. They passed on their genes to the next generation, which made the next generation a little bit more tolerant to those diseases. And then when it swept through again, it killed off the weak ones and everything. But the population in a whole got a little bit stronger. And this is kind of what you call building up like a natural immunity. Okay, now what happened is when the Europeans come in contact with the Native Americans, 80% of the Native Americans died because they didn't have that natural immunity. And this is called survival of the fittest. Now, when man comes along and domesticates a plant, let's say he wants his corn a little sweeter or his flower with a little bigger bloom. So he does this selective breeding thing. And sometimes he can take the hardiness that's been built up over the years right out of that plant. And this is why you can go to the store and get the little seed packets. And then you plant them in soil, you water them, and you do everything to care for them, and then half of them die. And the weeds come up in between the sidewalk, and you can't kill it. Because the weeds have been grown for selective breeding for thousands of years, and the seeds from the seed packets have gotten away from that. Okay. Now, we could take the fastest runners in the world, male and female, in the mile or whatever, and we could breed them, and we could come up with some faster runners. I mean, this is exactly what they do with racehorses. But we don't breed people the way we breed racehorses. We don't breed people for strength, intelligence, or quickness. So where do these people get this absurd idea that with each generation we're getting stronger and quicker and smarter? No, it doesn't work like that. What happens is nature breeds for one or two things over a long period of time. For example, a lighter colored bear up in the Arctic would have a little bit better chance of sneaking up on his prey. So he eats a little better. And then the darker colored bears would go hungry a little bit more. So over the course of time, when things get going rough, the darker bears die off and the lighter colored bears live on and pass their genes to the next generation. And then after a couple hundred years, the bears up there are white. Okay, and they would have probably a little bit different fur, a little bit thicker fur for the same reason. The same thing would work for darker colored bears in a place like Yellowstone. Now that doesn't mean the bears up there would be any smarter or more intelligent. It just means that they'd be whiter with thicker fur. Because that's what needed for survival. Now, here's something for those deep thinkers out there. I once watched a dog giving birth. And my first thoughts after I watched that was if humans had to do what that dog just did, we would all be extinct. Now, it's not that the dog did something so extraordinary, but the point is the dog did exactly what it needed to do for those pups to survive without having any medical training brochures, anything at all. Evolutionists might say that the dog licked the puppies clean because it tasted good or something, but I don't buy that. No, the information that dog needed to give birth to those pups was in that dog the moment that dog was born. Now this is referred to as instincts. And it's in almost every living thing on this planet. And this is why birds fly south, mice build nests, bees build hives. And why you may have some likes or dislikes that you don't even understand. We all are born with certain instincts. Now to the evolutionists and most of the general public, it seems that they think that we're born with just like a blank computer for a brain. Don't have any instincts at all, no knowledge. But that is not the case. Our brains are there to tell us when to breathe and when our heart to beat. Okay, it's now time to talk about the one thing that has to be proven before anyone can consider evolution any more than just a theory. The only time in written history that a life form has come from a non-living source is in Genesis, when God did it through supernatural means. Now, it doesn't matter if you've been told 10,000 times evolution is real. It doesn't matter what you've seen in the movies, in TVs, comic books, whatever, so forth. What your friends believe, what you learned in school. It has never been proven that you can get a life form from a non-living source. Now, if you don't wish to believe that, that's fine. It has never been proven that it can be done or that it is even possible. Now, for those of you that don't understand that, let me put this another way. You can't take a rock, a hunk of dirt, a bunch of chemicals, and turn it into a living form. A tree, a worm, a bacteria, a dog, a cat, a plant. It has never been proven that it is possible. But let's not stop there. Let's, for the benefit of a doubt, because you'll insist it is possible, because you want to believe in evolution. Okay, but let's say right now, somewhere in the universe there's a planet like Mars that has no life at all. But it has water. And life is forming as I'm speaking right now. Okay, now whatever that life form is, it would have to be strong enough to live long enough to reproduce. Now, we don't know how much time that would be. Would it be 10 minutes? Would it be an hour? A month? A year? Years? Okay. What we're talking about is impossible times impossible. Do you really believe that something's just been formed and from the get-go it's going to be strong enough? Now let's think back about the little seed packets. Those seeds were the product of plants that had thousands of years of selective breeding to make them very hardy, and only a few years of domestication, and half of them died. So do you really think that something's just formed is going to stand a good chance of survival through the heat and the cold, even if it was in a near-perfect environment? It's going to have a long enough time to live to reproduce. I don't think so. The chances of that would be very extremely thin. Okay, let's not stop there. Let's talk about the reproductive system. Now, can you tell me why something just formed would have a reproductive system? Think about this. Does this make any sense at all? Okay, a bunch of chemicals just come together, and it has strong enough to live until it reproduces, and then it's going to have this reproductive system already magical. This is, I know. You see this in movies and stuff. You see this in shows, and you see the thing forming, and then it's multiplying, and this is a fantasy. This is like watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon. It's not real. Okay? Do you understand that? Okay. Now, let's talk about instincts. Because even if it had a reproductive system, and it didn't have some kind of knowledge, this thing's just formed. It's as dumb as a rock. Okay, so for some reason, it's going to have enough knowledge or information, enough smarts to use the reproductive system. It's going to know what to do. Oh, it's just going to work on its own, right? Yeah, right. Spare me on that. Okay, so what you're saying, if you believe in evolution, that a bunch of chemicals just magically come together, and it was actually strong enough to live long enough to reproduce with a reproductive system that for some reason it just magically had, and it had used this reproductive system with no prior knowledge and no intelligence at all. Okay, now let's go on. Now it's got to have a way to take in energy. All living things do. Okay, this is the first living thing. There's no plants. It can't feed on nothing. So the only thing that would be there would be sunlight, or maybe even I would accept heat. Other than that, so it has to be a plant that has photosynthesis from the get-go, or it has some way to take in heat and use it for energy. Now, are you starting to see what a fairy tale this is? This is impossible. Now, of course, if you wish to believe all this, that's up to you. I certainly don't. But I'm not some smart scientist, okay? Now, there may be a few other things I don't even think about. I didn't even think of. But I can say this. If something's formed, if life's formed anywhere in the universe, and it doesn't have any one of these qualities, it didn't happen at all. A little more food for thought before I go. Remember this. People do things for a reason. They don't do it for no reason at all. Okay, simple. Okay, they either do it for money or power, revenge, vanity, something. TV shows would not be there if they were not making money. They'd take them off. That's what they're there for. People go on vacation for a reason. People build houses for a reason. So why are so many people taking their money, time, and effort to destroy your faith in God? Woe to the people that do this, for they will answer. There is a reason, and it may be very sinister. I don't know. You have a good day.